Welcome, everyone, to the Divine Feminine Ascension Council and those in the Inner Vibers Club on Clubhouse. Bianca and John and I are here um, discussing the upcoming energies of December. And so, if you're on this spiritual journey, if you're awakening to, the truth of how the movement of the planets in the galaxy absolutely do affect our energy, you're in the right place. We're going to talk about how it's going to affect our energy in December. And each of us has a different perspective, and I love that. And so I feel like it's like a puzzle that comes together, that we fill all the gaps in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I will let somebody else begin, though, because I definitely have, I've tuned in and I've got some stuff. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Bianca, what are you seeing coming? I mean, December's tomorrow, but the energy doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
adhere to the calendar, right? To our calendar, but we're already feeling it, I believe, that December, what we're going to be moving
Mm-hmm.
into. But what are you seeing and feeling for the rest of this year?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy, for the intro. I must admit, I have not really tuned into this next month energy except for yesterday, where I accidentally actually tuned into the energy. It came to me when I was pulling cards for myself, and it just made so much sense. What I'm seeing right now, continuing, is what we've seen this year. Is there's going to be, it's like you're pulled between two choices, right? There's always these two choices between fight or flight, right? A lot
Right.
of people are experiencing, there's this beauty right now there, this, what do I choose? There's a lot of information out there, particularly regarding the worldwide situation. We always come back to this because it is in the energy field so strongly right
Yes.
now as well.
Yeah. You can't ignore it. We have to, at least talk
Yeah,
about the overall energy of
yeah,
it. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. And I myself experience, I guess this will be for others as well, this pull between, am I gonna go into flight? Like, am I gonna escape from all of this, right? Am I gonna try and escape to the spirit world maybe out of all this information? Am I gonna try and escape the country if things get worse? Am I gonna fight with this information? Am I gonna resist this information? Am I gonna fight the authorities, right? And what
Right.
came to me
Right.
yesterday really dominantly is that there is a third way. And we know there is a third way. And this is what
There's
we're all
always a third
discovering. And
way,
this
right?
is exactly the Holy Trinity, right? Like, we can't just be in two energies. There's one more energy. And it's like this energy is starting to form and to grow. And it wasn't so much there last month. Last month, me
Agreed.
personally, I
Yeah.
felt very torn in, like like very separate, very torn. Somehow I was two me's maybe, or just two energies. And right now, this third form is emerging, and I can't quite grasp it yet. However, I know this third energy is going to bring us into 0 point. It may actually itself be the 0 point energy. And what I'm really getting from this third energy is flow, right? Instead of trying to escape something or trying to fight something,
Right.
what if I was going to go with the flow? However, that doesn't mean to agree with everything. That's not what I'm saying. Just
Right.
flowing
It could
with
still
the energy
mean
currents
physically
and
going
everything.
somewhere else and flow,
For
right? Like that's what you're
example,
saying. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Mhm. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
I like that.
absolutely. Yeah, following the tides and following the flow, and going about this with less resistance.
Yeah.
Like last month, I felt again a little bit of this rebel energy in me. And I know I
Yep.
felt this because I'm in Austria, and it's come up big time because we're about to go into the vaccine mandates and all of that kind of stuff. So I felt this heavily, and I know it was a lot from the collective as well. Um, and now with December energies, this is changing. It's not so much going into resistance with it anymore.
Yeah,
And
good.
I'm yeah, and I'm kind of seeing this like us being taken up the mountains, right? Austria, we're all about the mountains. Us, energetic wise, with the collective being taken up the mountains, so we can get a clearer view, a clearer picture. It feels like we've been in the valley, and in the
Mm,
valley you can see the mountain, but you can't see very far. And it feels like we're being taken up, and we're gonna see more. I don't know exactly what this relates to, the seeing more, but I'm definitely feeling this in the field.
I like that because it's a very expansive, yeah, very expansive feeling and high
Hmm.
vibe. And what I'm seeing too, as you were talking about it, it's definitely, um, it's going to give us the bigger picture. A lot of us we can tune into that, but I feel like maybe what you're seeing is more of us are going to be kind of locked into that perspective more often than not of being able to see the bigger picture and not being pulled into the fear
Yeah.
as easily, right? Like you said, I like that you said less resistance because really, what I always tell all my clients is there's no, as long as we have physical bodies, we're going to have resistance. Okay, as long as we have and as long as we have physical bodies, we're going to have an ego, and and that's where the resistance is kind of filtered through, and kind of the creation, part of the for the where the resistance comes from, and so the less resistance is the key. It's like, well, just because the physical body is going through a lot, and I think, and I had a kind of a channeled message come through one time too, where I was like, why though? Why would we choose this physical discomfort, this suffering going on? And the message came through that we want to feel it because it gives us
Yeah.
proof that something is happening.
Yeah.
And so, where if you're going through a lot of physical stuff, you can release a lot of this. What we always say too, Bianca and I always say, and John too, I know we've talked about this, is any physical discomfort is resistance. Every
Yeah.
physical,
Mhm.
ailment, everything is your resistance. Not judging. This
Mhm.
is not coming from a place of judgment. I'm right there with everybody else. Um, and like I said, it's just not possible we have to let go of trying to release all resistance and just release the resistance that you can release that maybe is not yours or maybe is kind of on the surface or whatever. But yeah, it's so the least we can resist, the quicker we can get up into those mountains and see that perspective. I
Mhm.
agree. I think everybody's, for the last several months we've been so wrapped up in this. Like every month I've been like, okay, like it shifts a little bit, but it's still gonna suck. Like that's kind of how I was seeing all these past months. And December is different. This
December is still going to be like December is still going to have a lot of that. It's going to suck energy as
absolutely,
well because
absolutely.
I'm feeling that.
But there is definitely something new and
And
bigger shifting in the latter.
mhm.
My tuning in, I was seeing the 17th, on or around the 17th, something big is going to shift or give. It's more like a relief um, that I'm feeling that on or around. And again, obviously don't quote me on the date. The energies don't give a shit what the day in the calendar is. They just don't care. The
When
stinkers.
I'm feeling, if you're saying this, could it be that it's kind of like a a collective breath? It feels like
Yeah.
it's going to be a moment where suddenly we're all going to take a breath in tune with the unit. It's
I
like the
like
kind
that.
of the breath of birth, where you take a deep breath, and it's like we're all together going to take a breath. I don't know what it means, if it means that, if it means anything at all, but energetically it feels like this.
I love that because it feels like this kind of, in that moment, maybe for the first time ever in this human existence, we will all be in unity
Mhm.
in that moment to take that breath.
And there is a stillness
Yeah.
with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a stillness with this. Hmm.
Yeah, that feels really
And you
good.
know what? It's like taking a collective breath, and this will be a turning point towards being able to see how it's all connected. It feels like there's something about taking this breath together and starting to see how everything it's like a web, right? How everything is connected to each other. There's
Yes.
something around
The
this.
quantum entanglement
Mm-hmm.
will become very
Mm-hmm.
evident for in that moment. And that's going to be a pivotal, huge, I think that's perfect. It really resonates with me. And it's going to launch us into this, like for me, I'm still seeing these two very distinct timelines and they're both getting us to the beautiful place. But one is
Yeah.
includes a little bit more of a rocky road in the immediate future, and nobody, I'm positive, if they could see what I see, nobody would choose this path, right? Even though we're still getting there, I can still see the Emerald City like in the distance, right? But this one, it's like, and that's a left. If for whatever reason I see that on the left, on the right side, and I'm hoping that collective. It's interesting you say that too, because when I asked, because that the 17th I got a picture, and from the 17th on, it was just white when I was tuning into the energy. And I said, what am I seeing? And I get Archangel Michael is a very strong guide for me. And he said, humanity has not chosen the timeline yet from then on. So the 17th, right on that, around that time frame, again, I'm not saying it's going to be on the 17th at, 12:17 p.m. or whatever. It's around that time we are making a collective unified choice of which way to go. And I know from what I've seen, if the left, we still could choose that path on the left. And if that left path is chosen, then there are more people. And this is not, again, this is not meant to, be fear porn or anything or scare anybody. But I definitely see if the left path is chosen, more people are going to choose to step away, to leave,
Yeah.
than if we choose the side
Yeah.
on the path on the right. So yeah,
And even now, um, the past year has been a lot around this active point. We've talked about this before, and it kind of seems like with the end of the year, we're also experiencing a culmination of that energy of release, letting go, the souls that have gone,
yeah,
they have chosen the exit route, right? We're tying the knot here. It's the end of the year, so we're looking back at this year and this energy of death that is not necessarily bad, right?
right,
Because on the 17th, we'll take a new breath, right? So we're now experiencing and have experienced the past year a lot of this energy around death and release. Death always means release, right? That's what it means. And this is bringing us to this point on the 17th that you're seeing, Wendy. And I've experienced this as well. I lived in a little village where my parents live, and I grew up. And most people who are elderly, they've left this year.
ah,
There were many, many, many people
wow,
who've chosen to leave, and it's just because their energies, they are not quite, they can't sustain the marathon energetically that we're running right now. It's a
right, right.
marathon. Don't be fooled, it's not a sprint. We'll need more of our energies and heart space and love and compassion and forgiveness and all of that. And they just chose that this is too much for them. They would burst and break into pieces going through a
Right. Yep.
ringer like we're doing right now. And at the same time, there is an increase, and I think we talked about this as well. I think you said it, Wendy, in children,
Hmm.
right? The old energy is dying, the elderly. We're seeing an increase in children, and I'm seeing just so much creative energy that is going to come as well.
Right.
It's
Yep.
like when the 17th, there's this canvas, and I feel, I don't know if this is true at all. It's true. It feels true to me is that with this canvas, we're we're not only choosing the timeline, but we're also still painting the timeline. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like we have this main roads that we're gonna go down that you were seeing, Wendy, and yet we'll paint the overall energy that we're going down this road with. That's what it is. Yeah, now I've got it.
Yep.
It's like it doesn't matter which road that we're taking, we will also choose the energy. If we're going through with the energy of creativity, with the energy of birth, with the energy of sparkle and light and colors, right?
Hmm.
Are we going to choose that? Are we going to choose a path that has more resistance, more struggling,
Right. And it comes
in
down
terms of the
to
energy?
if it's needed. You know what I mean? Like we could
Yeah,
choose all day long,
exactly.
but if
Yeah,
the majority, if they still need
needs it. Yeah,
more of a, of a purging, more dark night, right? More, more shadow
yeah,
work, then, like
yeah.
I have days, I'm, not going to lie, but, I knew that I was going to be here for the long haul. Pretty much from my spiritual
Mm,
awakening. It's like, okay, what is, like, it was a brand new, for me, it was a rebirth. At 42 years old, I was like, okay, this is a new life. What am I doing here? And I didn't just come here to go through all this, struggling and suffering. And so it's going to be, but for me, like, if I could just go, yeah, I want this right side path, but it's possible that I might need a little bit more too. Who knows? But yeah, so it's definitely going to be a huge pivotal event, right? Like, and maybe it's this event that and I think it's a series of events, right? There's not just one event. There's not. I personally don't resonate with the idea of a big solar flash that some people talk about this
no,
solar flash that's going to
maybe.
sweep across the planet and
Yeah.
literally incinerate anyone who's
Mm,
not energetically vibing high enough. And I
mm,
just cannot resonate with that. The
no,
universe is not
no.
this cruel God, that the religion would like us to
Yeah.
believe. And it's just it's a lot of different truths still existing out there that I think this pivotal moment coming up in December is going to eradicate a lot of those. Like, it just won't be able to be even
Mm,
thought of anymore because it won't be able to manifest in that energy. So I really, I'm pulling
mm-hmm.
for the right side, but again, I'm here no matter what.
Yeah.
And like you said, we just
Yeah.
really have to find a way to go with the flow,
Yeah.
to flow with this, to not
Yeah.
fight, but to not
And
run either. There is that third
hmm
choice, yeah, to
exactly.
just be.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will feel a lot more of this fight flight energy as there is more laws, as there is more
Yeah,
mandates, as people are feeling they're being pushed against the corner, right? We will see them going through the motions of what do I choose? Do I fight or do I flight? Before they're going into their heart space and they're just choosing flow.
right. Yep,
Flow just sounds so much better. I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm still gonna be in my sovereignty, right? It doesn't mean I'm not in my
right,
sovereignty. It just means that I'm laying down my sword. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not finger pointing. I'm not fighting anyone. And I'm also not escaping. It could even be the flight could it could mean that you're leaving the country, right? I'm not
sure,
saying that you're not gonna leave your
sure, sure,
country.
sure. But it's
It
the
just means
energy
that you're not
behind it.
gonna be
Yeah,
escaping the emotions.
yes,
Yeah, and it means that you're not escaping the emotions because that's mainly what I mean by when I'm saying choose fight or flight.
right.
It's type of energy that you're bringing. And you can choose flow as well. This is your third choice.
Yep,
And flow is a lot more loving energy, I can tell you that. And we will go through that motion. People will go through that process of fight, flight. You will see a lot more people on the streets. I'm sure of that, like protesting. There's going to be a lot more of that in terms of resistance
yes.
happening.
Which is part of the process,
And
and is going to be
it is
a
exactly,
positive. I think that would be a positive sign to see that, because we
yeah,
are coming
yeah,
to
yeah,
a
100%.
head for sure. Like, the energy of the first couple weeks of December is what I'm
Hmm.
feeling is all of this coming to a head and coming to a breaking point.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it's culminating. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel that as well. I'm feeling that too. It's definitely culminating, and it's going to be a little different. I feel in different parts of
Right.
the world. Hold on, what is that supposed to be? I'm getting the sense of Atlantis and
I was
Lemuria.
just thinking about
I'm feeling
Atlantis.
there's
Yes.
something. Yeah, there's something in that's happening right now here in Europe that has to do with Atlantis and the guilt of what happened in Atlantis and all of this energy. So I personally feel that we're gonna feel it here a lot more
I agree.
than in areas of the world, for
Because you
example, with
have
the
been,
Ring of
yeah, you
Fire
have
that
been
we're gonna
already
see.
so far. It's been
Yeah,
very much more of a
yeah,
visceral
yeah, yeah,
experience for you guys, even though there's
yeah,
lots of protests here too,
exactly.
and lots of, but I saw something the other day, like, I'm in Colorado, and it's been actually pretty calm. There's no mask mandate. There, nobody's enforcing anything, nobody's requiring anything. And apparently I saw something. I don't know if this is true today, but I saw something just the other day that 44 states aren't doing anything right now, and so that's pretty calm compared to what you
Mm,
guys are going through.
mm. Yeah, we're having the complete opposite, and I feel we'll continue to have this as long as we are following. How am I going to say this? It kind of seems like this egoistic, narcissistic leadership energy,
Mm,
right? I'm not talking about certain people. I'm just talking about this energy of um, service to self
right,
in a way that is
right.
cruel, right? This old, low consciousness energies. And this is coming back from Atlantis. This is coming
Yes.
back from World War II in terms of the energy. I'm just talking about the energy. I'm not
Yep.
playing anything small or
Right.
making
Agreed.
anything
There's no
bigger.
names attached to
Um,
this. It's just the energy. Yeah. Exactly.
exactly. Yeah. It's just the energy that is, it's a repeating cycle that we're trying to break here
Yep.
now. And it started with Atlantis. So it's a big responsibility and it's a big task. And this is why we're seeing more of it here than in the areas where Lemurian energy was more dominant. In the Ring of Fire, in these areas, I feel it's a little different there. It's a little calmer.
Okay.
And yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. I
yeah,
definitely
it's very
think you're
interesting.
in
So
this.
it's a little
You're
different.
definitely in a hot zone for a
We're
reason.
in the middle of the storm.
You know what I mean? Like you are a pillar.
Yeah, and I'm
You're a pillar in this hot zone, and if you weren't
mm,
there, it would probably be a lot worse. We have to remember too that I try to remind myself this daily that our very existence, our very presence on this, days where I'm like, I didn't do anything today. I did nothing. My presence here
yeah,
is the point. That's what I signed up for, is just to hang
yeah,
on and be here.
yeah,
And, even if I can't keep my vibe high,
yeah,
we came in with higher vibration. We cannot actually
yeah,
be, and I truly believe this, there's just no way we can be pulled down to a point where we're going to hinder anything. We're still doing our job. I was going to see if John, I don't know if John, if you're available to sneak in here, but we definitely want to pull you in. Sorry, we could, Bianca and I could go for kind of
Yeah,
like,
I
kind of
am.
like,
I am. I've
yeah,
been listening. I've been happily listening merrily in the background. Yeah. So yeah, no, I see. There's a lot of there's always a lot of
yes,
turbulence, and it's what's coming through for me for December and I'd say the last 2 weeks or so is reclaiming choice, free choice, and breaking out of automatic patterns that you get
hmm
locked into, because the mind's sneaky. The mind will you can train your mind either way, and your mind's one of your greatest assets, and it can also be one of your worst enemies, because you have a story going around in your head at all times. Unless you're paying attention, you're intentionally quieting it, and the mind will tell you all kinds of stories, and you think, oh yeah, you start to get really agitated about things. And the sort of the I think the energy for December is really about uh, you know untraining it from doing that, and bringing it back onto a path of clear thinking, because that's really helpful when you begin to, you're having a negative thought about something or a negative feeling. You're like, oh, hang on a minute, I don't need to feel that way. Maybe there's a better way of looking about this, and that's the choice point. That's yes, even the train agrees with me.
good
That's the
synchronicity.
choice point, when the yeah, when you realize you do have a choice in how you want to be, and what you want to think, and what you want to do, and the things that you want to feel as a result of your whole emotional makeup. So, there's all this stuff going on around us, but at the end of the day, within us, we're still sovereign.
Yes,
We still have the choice to forge forward. And once that momentum's in place, once you've stacked up a couple of decisions, serious decisions, then it gets a lot easier. There's a lot more space to grow and to explore, and to look at them, to bring the lightheartedness, the fun back into this um, the word that springs to mind is mission. That's a very kind of serious word to use. Purpose, that's it's a much better way of describing it, I think. And yeah, as you say, Wendy, just by being here and being in that state of positive choice,
Yeah,
that helps out massively, because that's just a quiet little thing you've done within your own self. But those things, they resonate back out into the open, quote unquote,
right.
external
Yep.
world. So
Especially when there's an
and
intention
it's just about having
behind
that
it. Yeah.
resolve.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about having that resolve to um, not get sucked into your own negative thinking loops that
Mm-hmm.
don't go
Yeah.
anywhere. You can be
Yeah.
having a really great time, moaning and bitching about the world, in your own head, not even realizing that you're doing it. You just thought, oh, I'm feeling terrible, blah, blah, blah. But then when you get some awareness, and the key is awareness, consciousness, and choice, because once even with everything else, it's the media is constantly, and that we not I'm not painting the media as a bad guy this time. It just is
Exactly.
what it
Yep.
is. It's a negative story machine that you can get hooked on very easily. It's like a drug, like anything else. And going into, you mentioned it before, but the fear porn is fear porn
Yeah.
is strong.
Mm-hmm. It is.
um but it's you're making the choice to disengage from that and then go your own way. But this all, relates to life on a very personal level, because it's the choices that we make. They start to stack up. They really do start to
Yes.
add up. The small things that end up being the big change that people are looking for in their own lives. So
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
yeah, and what you're saying about the two, yeah, that's really the representation of the two paths. If you want to break it down into black and white, it is positive and negative.
Yeah.
And as I've always said this: there's no right or wrong. I'm making those statements as objective statements, as in what you choose positive or you choose negative. It's completely up to you, and each choice is quote unquote right in its own regard, because that will basically dictate or influence the kind of experience that you have as a result of making that
Yep.
choice. So
Mm-hmm.
there's, and as time goes by, I think more people are waking up to the fact that they can make a choice about who they decide to be. But it's taking the mind off automatic and then making it less habitual. I think a lot of people are afraid of doing that, because they're like, oh my god, I've got to pay attention to my thoughts, and I wonder, it's kind of like that cringe factor, as in, oh, I don't want to deal with that, I haven't got time to think about this. But if they do, which I think they're beginning to, then it's going to open up a lot more for them. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts for the time
Well, and I
being,
think
ladies. What do
too,
you
as
think?
you're absolutely right. It's definitely always been about the individual journey, and because we are
Hmm.
one, ultimately, right, it affects everyone around you. And the more people who realize, and I think that's the important thing too. We often say, oh, people need to realize the truth of what's going on in the world, but really, I like the way you said it. Realize the truth that you can choose something different. That's the choice, not
Hmm.
that, oh gosh, the government, what has the government been doing and everything. And yes, many of us and many more people will still have to go through that process of purging that belief that it's not what they thought, right? But it's really the choice of, and that's part of them choosing something different, is allowing themselves to see what's really happening. But the choice comes, that, hey, you have some power here. In fact, you are the ultimate power in your
Mm.
own life. You are the all that is in your own life. But then, as each individual discovers that, it, like you said, I think that's a perfect way to talk about this collective breath that Bianca was talking about. Is more and more people are joining the club, right? Are clicking over to this 0 point reality
Yeah.
where they realize that they can choose. And as enough of us do that, and maybe it won't be everybody on the planet, but that on or around the December 17th timeframe, there'll be enough of us to take that deep breath and go, okay, now we can affect change in a big way. because enough of us have reached this point. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think we all fill in I
Yeah,
think we
totally.
fill in the spaces
Hmm.
of each other's, and it's a beautiful picture. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to, as John knows, I try not to be gloom and doom when I do forecasts, but the last few months it's been hard. It's been hard to put a positive twist on things. And so it's just been more like, hang on, right? Hang on, don't give up. This isn't
Yeah.
forever. It's temporary. Do your shit, right? Heal your shit, and do your own stuff, and worry less about what other people are doing, right? Like that's kind of a key too, and that's part of what John was saying about unplugging. Stop watching the news. Seriously, it's got no bearing on what's going on
Mm-hmm.
right now at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone, if
Yeah.
that's all you do, that's huge.
And
Go ahead.
yeah. And John, as you were talking, what I felt really strong, you were talking all about thoughts, and I like that. And there's something around clarity of thought. Right now, it feels like we're bombarded with information, as you say, the news, but also
Hmm.
friends, family. There's so many different ideas around certain topics, a lot of them fear-based, hate-based, anger-based, divide-based, whatnot. And there's something about clearing the clutter of your mind. It's this clear thought that you're not making this choice, right? Johnny, we're talking about choice, that you're not making this choice out of being caught in a spider web of other
Right.
people's opinions, right? It's clearing that so that you're making that
Hmm.
choice based on a clear mind and clear thoughts.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, that's the people, a clear mind is so important. There's not enough focus on that. If you just follow what you're given to follow, by quote unquote society or your environment, then you have to first of all make that choice to clear up your thinking, because once that is done, then you can navigate the journey a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
When there's negative stories, history, past traumas, all that kind of stuff, resentment, regret, all that kind of stuff in the way, is a real
Hmm.
spanner in the works. So the real choice is to get clear on yourself, because you are the lens through which you see the world.
Yeah.
Your personality, your character is needs to be clear, so you can make progress in your journey and not feel like you're treading water or on the hamster wheel. It's super
Yeah,
important.
definitely. And that's a huge, for a lot of people, that's the turning point in their lives, is when they realize they do have
Yeah.
that, like the hamster wheel is not your boss. You're controlling it. You're perpetuating.
Hmm.
That's why we've been saying this for forever. I think as long
Yeah.
as I've known both of you, is we know that this matrix reality may have been created to keep us prisoners, but we are the ones who have been perpetuating it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
wake up and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that we then have the power to take it down. And the actual mechanism, if there ever was one or whatever, is gone. The control is gone, but there is a aspect of the letting go, the grieving process of letting go of this reality that's the only thing we've ever known, that has kept it, grinding away, but it ultimately has a shelf life now, and it's slowing down, and it's going to come to a screeching halt. And that's why, all this work is so important, because if we hadn't if we had no if the awareness hadn't come along with this grinding down of this old reality matrix, I think, I think Bianca maybe was saying, it would have, you know we none of us would survive this. None of us would have survived. So the work is so important, and it goes right,
Hmm.
goes hand in hand of us being able to still exist on this planet in our physical bodies in this new reality that is coming without that reality matrix. And it's a video
Hmm.
game, but
Yeah, totally.
ultimately, but we get to
It's all a
control it. And
video
I don't
game.
know if
It's
you
all a
guys
video
have
game.
seen Free
But
Guy, talking about messages in movies. In a lot of movies, there's agenda. And I think as you wake up, you see that they're glaring, right, in the movies nowadays. where there's a agenda, but it's almost like the ones I'm seeing lately are kind of half and half. It's like, yes, they're putting they have to tell us the truth, but then there'll be a little bit of agenda. But if you focus on the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and this Free Guy movie is literally about a video game character who becomes self-aware and realizes he can create his own reality and he can make it beautiful. And then he teaches
Wow.
everybody, all the other video game characters, to do the same, that they don't have to live in this reality of struggle and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't
Awesome.
seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's good. Of course, Ryan Reynolds is always entertaining, but it's a very, I thought it was a really intriguing, and yes, some people are saying, oh, but it's talking about AI. Let that go. Let that go and focus on the positive energy within it. That this is what we're doing right now, is we literally are avatars, realizing that we are controlling this reality that we're in every minute of every day. It's a good one. Just throwing
Hmm.
that out there. There is still stuff worth kind of investing a little bit into to get the messages out of.
For some reason, as you were talking, the scene from V
Mm,
for Vendetta came to mind, where she it's nearer the end of the film, but I think it's near the end of the film, but she takes her hostage and then keeps her locked up for a year and kind of tortures her every day, and then he leaves the door open at the end, and she hadn't left his, she hadn't left
right.
his house. For anybody
Yep, yep,
who's
I
seen the
remember
film,
that.
they know what I'm talking about. But that's kind of like, you can be held hostage by your own mind
Yeah,
and by your own feelings. So it's it's super important to to make the
right.
right choice there,
And you can
and
be
to get
convinced
your
that
head
you're
together.
powerless, right, in any
So
situation when that's never true. That is never true.
yeah,
We are never
totally.
powerless. Right.
That's just the
We
story,
are we are not
you
victims
know.
of someone else's anything. It's always
Mhm.
been us.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And and this is what we're also learning is that we don't need someone to tell us what to do, right? That's also kind
Hmm.
of like victim energy. It's we're really growing into making those choices ourselves and gathering information ourselves and not relying on information that is presented to us from the outside. We're making choices based on clarity of mind and also what feels right in our bodies. We're starting to listen more, right? We're pulling more of our soul, of our
Hmm.
higher self into our body every
Right. Yeah.
second right now. And this means that we're making a lot more aligned choices aligned with our path, and our path is ascension, and that's what the earth is on. So, yeah,
Yeah. There's no going back now. There's no turning back. We're
Mhm.
exactly.
on the
The
path. Like I
ease
said,
is
even the
alignment.
two paths in front of us, they eventually converge, and there is no stopping this process at this point. It's just a matter of the people. Exactly.
How
How
we're gonna get
much
there.
suffering
Hmm.
do we need between here and there?
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
go ahead.
And And when we're talking about suffering, we do know, and we want to emphasize this point as well, that you can choose how you're going to go through the periods of suffering. If you're
Right.
going to go through it with ease,
Right.
right? We're always coming back to this because it's so important. How do you navigate the periods that feel dark, that feel heavy? Are you going to get sucked into them? Or are you going to go through them with ease? You can revel in them, you can dance in them, you can do all this fun stuff, and and you can go through it with ease, or you can just sit
Right.
there and make yourself
Yep.
small and say you're the
And
victim
that
of,
is
of
ultimately
all of
resisting
this,
your current
right?
situation, right? Like when you're in the, I always
Mm-hmm.
visualize just kind of being in the bottom of a
Mm-hmm.
pit, and there's really nothing there but you and the darkness. And you can spend every second,
Mm-hmm.
you know, trying to claw your way out, and exactly, or
Or
you
you can
can sit
explore the
with it
darkness.
and yeah, and feel comfortable in it and find your center, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that. You
yes,
can
that's
explore it. Very
perfect.
well
Yeah.
said, Bianca.
And you don't need a
Mhm.
flashlight because, we are
Yeah.
flashlights.
And there's Yeah. And there's
Mm,
no doubt
totally.
there'll be more of
right,
those periods. Like we're not through
right,
the collective shadow yet. So be prepared for everyone
right, and
individually.
even
There'll be more of those
exactly,
periods,
yeah.
even if you think you're super
Yeah,
advanced.
and even the
Yeah.
choice being made,
Yeah.
before, and I do feel like that breath is going to happen. That choice is going to be made before the end of the year, and but between now and then, it is going
Mhm.
to appear worse. It's going to appear like it's going down this dark road, and oh, well, and when will it stop? And there will be a lot of fear releasing. But one thing that I saw too and I don't think anybody will be immune from this, but it was more in the light worker because we'll be aware of it, but I think everybody will go through this. Is I was seeing a need to continually and several times a day come back to your center, come back to your center, find find that void space, find the
Mhm.
0 point, as often as you can. Whenever you realize you're kind of floating away from it, come back to that center, come back, not obviously not to the at the expense of the healing that needs to be done, but you'll know, right? Like we'll feel, like I said, I think that's is more for the light worker community because we're going to be more aware of where we're at. And okay, do I need to sit in this pit, or can I find, and sitting
Mhm.
in the pit, you want to find your center as well. But it's going to be kind of a, what I saw the first couple of weeks of December is kind of this bipolar energy of we'll be really high vibe and then down low, and then really high vibe and then down low. And so it's in the middle, just keep trying to find that center.
Yeah.
Right,
That's the third
exactly. See,
way,
I knew we
right?
saw
That's
the
what we're
same
talking
thing.
about. Like
We
all coming
usually do
together.
in different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Choose the third way.
Choose the third
We've
way,
been saying put
right?
down your swords for
Remember.
a couple of years
And
now,
that's
and I
so
knew that
important.
when I saw it. I have this I have this little statuette of Archangel Michael, and he comes with a sword, but it's like a little glue spot that it sticks into his hand, right? And it would not stay. And I remember I had the thing for years, and all of a sudden the sword kept falling out of his hand. And I was like, I think that's a pretty obvious message. And
Uh-huh.
so I started, kind of talking, and got so much flack from people. Oh, you're not fighting. You're not doing enough. You're part of the problem because you're not a warrior and you're not an activist. You're like, look, I have never been an activist. It's not in my energy. It's not what I came here to do. I have always been more of a gentle, maternal warrior, right? Like, I'll go mama bear on you, but I've just never had that, stand on the top of a car and scream. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in that energy, and I never will be. And so being told that I needed to be
Yeah.
somebody different,
Yeah.
that was a whole journey of growth as well. But yeah, it's just a matter of just hang on, guys. Hang in there. It's going to look, like it's getting, like it might get really bad, and then I think we're all seeing this. It's something's going to give. We're going to hit that breaking point, and the more people, and I am seeing people. I've got people messaging me. I've got people, just telling me in person, "Hey, I'm starting to see what you're seeing." And even though I had this belief before, I'm starting to
Yeah.
see where your belief is coming from. And so it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so I think we're all seeing it across the board that more and more people are realizing that they can choose. They don't just have to line up for something they don't want to do. They have a choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Always.
And there's always a choice, right? This is also so important. You can always choose. Always,
There is.
there's always a third
Yep.
way, right? You can always make a choice. You don't have to do anything that anybody is telling you because you have the
Yep.
sovereign right
Absolutely. We
over your
always have,
body.
no matter what other
Okay?
people tried to tell us.
So there's always
And if you have to move through that, I've, like you were saying, Bianca, I don't know if it was, I think it was maybe before. No, I think we were recording already when you were saying that you have felt that warrior kind of rise back up inside you. And I felt the same thing. And it's sometimes we need to, it's about getting, and maybe not all of that. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of all of the, it's kind of a cool feeling to have that warrior energy. Okay, I'm standing for what I believe in. But it's the combative, right? It's the negative, belligerent part of it that is coming up to be healed. But if you
Mhm.
need to move through that, if you need to, be an activist for a little while to move, if it feels right, then, that's what you need to do. Like, we're not saying,
Thank
oh, start
yeah.
choosing, the third way today, and you're doing it wrong if you don't. Absolutely not. I think we all, every day, I have minutes where I'm like feeling that warrior coming through, and I'll post something, and then that energy is released,
Mhm.
and I don't regret posting it, but it's more of a, okay, I think I needed to do that. I think I needed to do it to get it out there. Maybe somebody needed to see it for
Mhm.
whatever reason to move them forward. Who knows?
Yeah,
Right, right.
because we're all connected. So
Exactly.
probably you
Yeah, because
posted
then
it
it
for
was gone,
someone
right? Then
else,
the energy's gone
right?
with
Not
it.
for
And I'm like,
yourself.
oh, okay. But then
Mhm.
you have that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I've learned now that I'm like, no, it's done. It's done. I'm going to let it float out there for whoever needs to see it, and I can let it go. And so it's every moment. It's not like, oh, we're all
Yeah,
supposed to be, angels with wings floating around with our harps. It's not, no, no.
and it
Because that
definitely
sounds
is not going to
boring
be
to me
something.
anyway.
It's not the reality. It's not what we're seeing. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And we will definitely, it doesn't matter which road we're taking,
Right,
it's definitely going to be rocky. It's just a matter of how
right,
rocky
yeah.
it's going to
Because
be.
the rebuild, that's
Um,
always right.
yeah,
Yep,
as we say,
please
it's
hang in
going to
there.
happen, right?
No matter which path is chosen, hang in
Um,
there. We need you.
yeah,
There is
and
a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a rainbow
yeah,
on the other side
and
of this. And it's coming soon, right? It's not like 20
yeah,
years away anymore. Yeah,
yeah.
it's just
No,
a couple,
definitely not. Yeah, no, definitely not.
right?
I'm still
Yep,
seeing
yep,
2023,
yep, agreed.
2024. There's something there. So it's gonna be just a little longer. And if you have these moments like we all do, just like we want to leave, we don't want to be here, then just remember that you chose to come here.
Yeah,
I think that's just important when you go through those moments. You chose to come here, and things will get a lot clearer to you in the future. If it's not clear now, if you don't think you're doing enough, if you don't think you're worthy,
yeah,
just stick with it, because there definitely is a reason. And don't give in to
right.
those
Try to,
moments where you just want to leave,
exactly. And
because we're
try to, when
happy
you're
here.
feeling that too, like I know Bianca and I've been there, and, other
Mm,
beautiful soul family we know have been there very
mm,
recently, where it's like, I'm done. I'm done. Just try to go into gratitude. Gratitude is huge, for the opportunity for this growth ultimately. Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's such
part
an
of the
amazing
biggest
time to be here,
shift
really.
in
Yes, yeah. And I
galactic
look at it too,
history.
it's like you were saying, it's that,
Yeah.
it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows when everyone is awakened. And it's like, we're climbing up to the top of the mountain now, and then we get to climb down. Climbing down isn't, we're not just going to roll down like a snowball, right? It's not going to be effortless. It's still work, but we can
Mm,
see, the summit. A lot of times, if you get that visual of the summit, a lot of times, if it's a really tall mountain, you can't see it. It's like above the clouds. And once we get there, we'll have this amazing view, right? And we're going to take that breath, I think, maybe at the top, and then we get to go climb down. But again, that's still work, but it's going to be able to be more fulfilling. It's going to give us more that soul purpose, that soul fulfillment, because it is coming after that big relief period. And we know, okay, we did that. We did the hard part. Climbing up is the hard part. Climbing down is not, you don't get to just teleport down, but maybe some people will, who knows, but it's still, it's like rewarding work, right? It's like that. Okay, this is why we came here. This is what we're doing here, is that's when we'll really get to step in and guide people in a bigger way down the mountain.
yeah.
So, and there'll be more mountains.
Mm,
I probably shouldn't
mm.
say that, but
It's okay. We'll
yeah,
make it through step by step.
absolutely, because the unity consciousness is everything. I have a friend, Laura Eisenhower, who said one time in a speech that just blew me away: unity consciousness is the immune system of the planet. And I will
Mm,
never forget it. And
Oh,
it's true.
nice.
right, and it's perfect, and it's exactly, it's so true. It is so true. It'll, once we're in unity, Gaia will be in unity with Gaia, and everything will flourish.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's
Yeah. That
let's wrap
beautiful
it up.
vision.
If anybody, yeah, go ahead, Bianca.
Exactly. No, I just wanted to say this same thing when it's like such a beautiful vision that you just painted that I think it's the perfect moment to wrap it up here. Like I've
Oh,
said
yeah,
everything that I needed to get out there, and yeah,
beautiful. And I know I feel better
anything.
just being able to talk it out and share, perspectives with you too. Helps. It helps, right? Even if nobody else listens to this, this has made an impact on the three of us, and that impacts our
Yeah,
energy field, and that impacts everybody around us, and that impacts the world. So we're doing it. I'm so proud of us. We're pillars of light,
me too. I'm happy
scattered
we're
all
back
over the world.
starting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me
Exactly.
too. Me too. And whenever we need to take a break, I think anybody on this journey understands that some days you just can't be
Yeah.
there for anybody but yourself. And
November
that's,
was tough for me. I'm not lying. Like, November was tough. So
yes, yeah.
mm,
Yes, it
okay.
was. 2021, though, although from a certain perspective, it really has flown by. I cannot
Mm,
believe tomorrow's December. I just
it
I was
has.
telling my
Yeah.
kids, like, I'm not even used to, I turned 50 last December. I'm not used to being 50 yet, and I got to be 51. I'm like, oh, well, it's all good. My 50s, I always said my
Well,
50s were going to
congrats.
be epic. So I'm looking forward to it.
Congrats on making it to half a century.
Right? And John, you and I aren't even hitting 40 yet. You'll be 37 in December?
I think I'll be 38. Not sure.
You might have to call your mom. Mom,
Mm.
how old am I? Yeah, so crazy. Well, this
Guys,
was
let's
beautiful.
wrap it up.
Yes,
Yeah, it
thank you. I'll
was.
do the
Thank
I'll do
you
the
everybody for
official farewell for
listening.
YouTube. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you everybody for being here. Join us next time. We are on Clubhouse. We do try to do Clubhouse every Tuesday. Look for us in the Inner Vibers Club, which is John Bass's club, and it's beautiful. And we talk about all things ascension, spiritual journey, healing, everything, the energy. So we'll see you here. I'm going to go ahead and stop
Bye,
recording.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.